So money laundering really affects both the countries and businesses and individuals in the country where the illegal proceeds are generated. There it can have unintended consequences for the people of that country. You now have more money. It can lead to more inflation. Everything from daily cost of living to cost of assets can go up.
As of March 2023, Singapore ranked third globally and first in the Asia-Pacific region as a top financial hub. However, in August 2023, a major money laundering case shook its reputation. To remain trustworthy, Singapore must stay vigilant and maintain high standards. What are the steps Singapore can take to achieve this, and how might it affect you? Today I'm speaking with Reshmi Khurana, partner and managing director at Alex Partners. Hi Reshmi, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's begin. Reshmi, my first question is, why is it important for us to understand what money laundering is and how it works?
So money laundering is essentially the process through which money that's been obtained through illegal means goes through a series of financial transactions and ends up looking legitimate. So in common parlance, that's called converting black money into white money. The source of these funds could be anything illegal. Typically, the big buckets are money obtained through tax evasion. So you don't pay tax in your own country, and that's moved out. Another could be through sources of bribery and corruption. Third bucket could be through illegal activities such as illegal betting, illegal mining. Proceeds of those economic activities also need to be cleaned. And then another bucket is, of course, outright criminal activities like gangs and so on and so forth. So all of the funds obtained through those can come in the bucket of illegal money, and those, when so-called laundered, constitute money laundering.
How can money laundering impact individuals' financial safety and stability and the overall stability of communities and businesses?
So money laundering really affects both the countries and businesses and individuals in the country where the illegal proceeds are generated, but then also the country and communities and people where that money lands up. A country where illegal activity is taking place and the money leaves the nation, that country is deprived of important taxes, for example, for the benefit of the country. Or it may not be able to then generate enough jobs or deliver enough goods and services. And then, of course, it affects reputation as well. And in the country where the money arrives to be laundered, there it can have unintended consequences for the people of that country. You now have more money. It can lead to more inflation. There's more demand for goods and services, so prices go up. Everything from daily cost of living to cost of assets can go up. It also affects the reputation of their financial system. A country or a bank or an organization can be seen as abetting money laundering. So what we see at Alex Partners a lot is regulators clamping down hard on both ends, both in countries where proceeds are generated and where they land up. And really often players in the financial system have to bear the onus of preventing that. And we help banks and companies and often regulators in thinking about how to minimize this illegal activity.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I'd like to think Singapore's worked so hard, to maintain and build this clean reputation. And when these things happen, it's not good for the reputation of this nation, right?
I mean, it's an ongoing process. It's impossible to prevent all crime. Low financial crime doesn't mean no financial crime, whether it's a bank or a country, but it's a continuous process of seeing how is criminal behavior evolving, how is technology and products evolving, and how can we keep up with that? And that's where sort of international experts, we have experience in advising various countries who are at different points in their journey in solving financial crime, and sometimes understanding what those best practices are, and then using us to help satisfy local regulators or international commissions that you're fighting crime can be quite important.
Okay, so let's move on. What are the latest issues or difficulties in preventing money laundering, and how do you give useful advice to individuals like us on staying informed and making smart choices?
I think one big challenge for international corporations and companies is that the world's economic environment is becoming increasingly interconnected. So now it's easier to move money across borders, whether it's for foreign direct investment, whether it's for trusts and family offices. And it's also easy to open companies, open bank accounts. There's a degree of globalization and deregulation that occurred over the last several decades. So criminal can move their money from one country to a second country and open a bank account. They can then take those proceeds and set up a company in a third country. They can then have subsidiaries in multiple countries where they can then buy assets in further countries. So you can imagine the complexity of that. So often at Alex Partners, we will work with companies to investigate the flow of these funds. Say if a regulator is asking this question, or they want to proactively see how money laundering activities are taking place, and then also to design systems to make sure this activity can be caught proactively or prevented. You don't want to be always behind the curve and investigating. You want to identify indicators and understand the patterns to be able to then avoid this behavior altogether. I think individually, all of us can be vigilant about that. When we are doing transactions, whether it's buying assets and selling assets, look for red flags, such as intermediaries that look suspicious, or money being offered in cash, or a vast sum of it suddenly appearing. So be watchful for those red flags.
We've all got to be a bit more alert then. Life is a bit more like a Netflix show now. Okay, we might get large sums of cash in a suitcase and we should reject it.
It's usually never as dramatic as that, but yes,
okay.
Along those
just
lines.
Be more alert.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, before we go, do you have any last thoughts you want to share?
I think if I had to sort of summarize what are the challenges with money laundering today, I think number one, I expect regulators to become increasingly vigilant and increasingly watchful, prosecute, give fines across the system, whether it's financial services companies, banks, investors, corporations. So I think the private sector has to be more vigilant and be more proactive in making sure they can satisfy their regulators. So I expect regulation to only increase. Secondly, I expect, because of technology developments and new financial systems developing, including new companies and cryptocurrency and AI developing, it's going to make it even harder to clamp down on money laundering. So that's a lesson both for companies and for regulators in terms of they need to evolve their systems as well. And then thirdly, I think there will be an opposing trend of deglobalization, as we've seen. Countries becoming more economically nationalistic with their data and with their information. How does one prevent financial crime while there is more economic protectionism going on in the world in the coming years? So I think balancing all of those is going to be a test for companies going forward.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you, Reshmi.
For a secure and thriving future, ensuring financial integrity becomes a collective responsibility we all share. You've been watching Tea Time Tuesday. Until next time, keep seeking knowledge and financial empowerment.